Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's opening board on opening theory in Xiangqi. This will be a continuation of the previous topic, the same direction cannons, rank chariot versus file chariot. We'll be introducing a new variation, rather exciting one also, in this board. This is based on the material found in the trilogy of opening books by Master Wenqing and Grandmaster Zhang. So without further ado, let's begin. Central cannon, same direction cannons, the rank chariot, file chariot, and the rank chariot crosses the palace, a very important move. Black patrols the riverbank with the file chariot. Red develops the chariot, both horses, both colors develop all the horses as proper horses. And this would be the topic of discussion for this spot, whereby red would play R9 plus 1 for the double rank chariots variation. Now this is a very aggressive variation for red and would usually be a favorite of players who prefer to attack and who are very adept at coming up with strategies or tactics in the game immediately. Now, at this point in time, it can be also mentioned that P3 plus 1 would be also a natural method of play. However, the moves that follow P3 plus 1 would be very similar to variation C as we will be discussed later on, so they will not be discussed in detail over here. So, this will be the position of discussion. And at this point in time, there are three major variations for black to continue with, which will be the topic of discussion. The first would be C2 equals to 1, whereby black, since red had developed both chariots as rank chariot, black would choose to develop his right chariot as a file chariot in order to contend. The other variation, the second variation would be C2 plus 2 for the riverbank cannon, whereby black aims to fortify the riverbank rank and try to deter the red chariots. The last variation will be a more subtle P3 plus 1, whereby black chooses to develop the pawn over here and also probably, hopefully, this horse. So without further ado, let's go to variation 1. C2 equals to 1, and black adopts the 5-9 cannons. Now, this will be slightly to the effect of a 3-step tiger, whereby black jumps the horse, moves the cannon, and develops the chariot. And this is done as mentioned earlier because red had developed both chariots as a rank chariot, so it would be a good idea to develop the black chariot as a file chariot. Now, in the book, it was recommended that red play c8 plus 2 in preparation for black's r1 equals to 2. Now, this would avoid a potential pin by black and would demonstrate an acute sense of the board. So, would it be a good idea for red to play r6 plus 5 in this manner to attack? The answer would be no, because black would still develop his right chariot. Say red threaten, capture the pawn to threaten the black horse. Black would defend in this manner. And let's say red tried to be aggressive, black would defend first. And because red had moved the pawn, black would now play c5 equals to 6, threatening to play c6 plus 1 to capture the red chariot. So red would lose tempo because he would have used up 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to move this chariot at the expense of the development of the other pieces. So that is why red would have lost tempo. For beginners, r9 plus equals to 6 is played to discourage black from retreating the cannon, because if it did, red would simply play r6 plus 8 to attack the cannon, and black cannot use the cannon to attack this chariot anymore. So that is why c8 plus 2 would demonstrate an acute sense of the board, whereby since both black's third and seventh pawn have not been advanced, there will be multiple targets for for the cannon to attack. So let's say black played p3 plus 1, which is quite a commonsensical thing to do. Red threatens the horse. Black develops a chariot as planned, and since the chariot was attacking, red will now attack this horse. Now in this situation, it would be a good idea for black to play r8 equals to 9, although it would seem to be a reluctant move. h3 plus 2 would not be a good idea because red would play r9 equals to 6, threatening to checkmate, forcing the advisor to be raised. And in the process of doing so, red would now offer a trade of chariots, which black would have must accept. If not, red could play r6 equals to 7, and the development of this horse would be a major issue. And once the red chariot had was placed on the cross riverbank rank, black cannot play p7 plus 1. So red would have the initiative at this point. Hence, h3 plus 2 would not be a good idea because of red's r9 equals to 6. Let's say if red chose to attack in this manner, black could protect the horse and be prepared to retreat the cannon to attack. So at this point in time, red would take the initiative to trade away this pawn. Now this is the correct order of moves. It would not be a good idea to play r9 equals to 6 now because black could simply play c5 equals to 6 to prepare to trade to capture the red chariot. So red will lose the opportunity, and if the red chariot moved r6 equals to 4, red would have lost more tempo. And black can take his time to reorganize his defensive formation, and black will be alright. d3 plus 1. Now this is a move that has to be made. It would not be a good idea to play c1 minus 1 to attack the chariot as planned, because red could play r9 equals to 6, c1 equals to 3. Again, once the chariot moved, red will be threatening to checkmate. So the advisor must be moved, but in doing so, red will be able to sneak his or advance his chariot to attack the black cannon, which has no way good to run. If it moved here, this chariot will be overloaded, and the function or efficiency of this cannon will be greatly weakened. So red would have the advantage. Now, r9 plus equals to 6 must be played. It would not be a good idea to try to trade material, because if he did, black would play p5 plus 1, which was a very powerful move, whereby black would now be ready to play either one of the horses to the centroid to attack the cannon, and more importantly, since this cannon had retreated, black can also play c1 equals to 5 to mount a very vicious attack on the central file. So that is why r7 minus 1 is not a good idea, because black would simply refuse to trade chariots. So back to the main line, p3 plus 1, r9 equals to 6, defensive prophylactic move, and red would capture the pawn, gain an open line, and a very open position. So red would have the initiative. Now to variation B, instead of red moving the cannon to the riverbank, black would first do so. p7 plus 1 is a commonly used tactic to prevent c2 equals to 3, and also if c2 equals to 7, red would have the option of playing h7 plus 8 to prevent the black chariot from developing. So let's say if this were done, now it would, at this point in time, because of this situation, it was advised that red play h6 plus 7, although h7 plus 8 would seem to be a natural move to make, because if it did, black would have this very powerful and sneaky move that can be played. Let's say if red defended the pawn, and black will threaten to sacrifice his pawn, because if the red captured the black pawn, black would capture the horse. So red would achieve his goals. So although h7 plus 8 would seem to be a natural move to make, h7 plus 6 is better. And since h7 minus 6 was not played, black could take the opportunity to develop his chariot, threaten this file. Red will play c8 equals to 7, threatening to gain material. Prophylactic move, pushing the pawn forward after trading, and after the red cannon moved over here, there was a threat of a spotted cannon attack, and that is why black would choose to capture the central pawn to deliver a check and be prepared to link his horses up. However, at this point in time, we can see that both the black horses have fallen greatly behind in the development, and this is why it is considered red would have a slight advantage at this point. Now to variation C. p3 plus 1, a very subtle and powerful move. So let's say if this were played, red would advance the chariot across the river. Now, e3 plus 1 is a commonly used tactic in similar situations in preparation for red's r6 equals to 7, because if he did, red could play the Elephant Chariot and take the opportunity to readjust his formation. The presence of the elephant here would also protect the pawn and discourage red from moving, because if he did, the chariot would become a closed chariot. Now, would it be a good idea? Now, this is one of the, as mentioned earlier, this is one of the common ways of playing this position. But would it be a good idea for black to play c5 equals to 6 to adopt the sandwich horse defense formation? The answer would be no, because black cannot fortify the central file, and red would be more than happy to attack the central file. Neither would c2 plus 2 be a good idea. Now, the main reason for this is that if r6 equals to 7 was played, black could play r1 plus 2. However, after doing so, black could simply offer a trade of pawns, and red would have the initiative, because this flank would be very cramped and this chariot would be now prepared to attack. So e3 plus 1 is suggested or advocated. Red would choose to develop his pawn. r6 equals to 7, Elephant Chariot, and red traverses the chariot to the right file to mount an attack from both flanks. Now this would be the recommended move, and it is considered to be sound. r9 equals to 6 would not be a good idea, because it would give black the opportunity to play c5 equals to 6 to threaten to capture this chariot. So h3 minus 4, offering a trade of material. So, and red would advance his cannon across the river to take target at this pawn, threatening a spotted cannon. Checkmate. Now, instead of pushing p7 plus 1, it is advocated that black play e7 plus 9. Now, let's say if black chose to play c5 equals to 3, dislodging his central cannon so that his elephants can be linked, red will still capture the pawn and then play e7 plus 9 to defend against black's p7 plus 1. And at this point in time, red can continue with c3 equals to 9 or r4 equals to 8. Now either way, this will lead to many tactical options for red, and black would have been the would have been on the losing end after this trade of material. And as mentioned, p7 plus 1, would it be a good idea? Now, black would apply a pin. Black tries to dislodge the cannon. Of course, red will not budge and push the pawn across the river. And once h8 plus 2 was played, black will now retreat his cannon here. So let's say if black played, red will now be prepared to play c8 equals to 3, and there's always a threat of the spotted cannon. Checkmate. So that is why e7 plus 9 would be a good enticing move. Red attacks. Black goes for the attacks this horse, and red defends in this manner. Red will capture pawn and get to develop his horse, and this would be basically an even situation. So a quick recap, we shall look at this board in from the eyes of black. Say c2 equals to 5. I want the red rank chariot, file chariot, double rank chariots variation. And at this point there were three main variations: 2 equals to 1, c2 plus 2, and p3 plus 1. In the first variation, red chooses to advance the cannon to the riverbank. And after a series of trades, red will still have the initiative. What about variation B, c2 plus 2? Let's say c2 plus 2 will play for the riverbank cannon variation. Red would advance the pawn, and h7 plus 6 would be better than h7 plus 8 at this point. So both colors go at it, and because black's horses were not active, although he would have a central cannon, this cannon will be easily dislodged. They would have the slight advantage. Variation C, black plays a very subtle p3 plus 1. Red attacks. The Elephant Chariot is technical combination is used. And after trading material, it will be a very relatively even situation for both colors. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video. If you like the work that I've been doing, please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Thank you.